Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing Voodoo Issue number 2. Take a look at this comic cover right here. Now I'm going to take some time at the beginning of this review and at the end of this review to talk about Voodoo the comic, the character, the tone of the comic, and the content in the comic itself. Because issue number 1 of Voodoo kind of caused a little bit of an uproar, a little bit of controversy amongst fans and readers alike. Now, with this whole DC New 52, there's been a few comics that have kind of pushed the envelope a bit. That have kind of been, controversial, for lack of a better term. Comics such as Red Hood and the Outlaws or Catwoman, and Voodoo is another example. But I feel as though with all these comics that are out that are, again, throwing this word around, a little controversial, I feel as though Voodoo is the one that has the best excuse for it. Now, allow me to explain myself. Voodoo is a mature content comic. It is for mature readers. And it is a character who is an exotic dancer. And because she's an exotic dancer and she works in a gentleman's club or a strip club, obviously there is going to be some TNA shown around, for lack of a better term. Now, my argument is this, is that Voodoo is not throwing in that TNA for the sense of stimulating the male readers, or for the sake of just having it there. It's never really flaunted in our face in an overly inappropriate way. The reason why Voodoo has the TNA in his comic is because it is a comic that has a character that is an exotic dancer. It's more there for the sake of the story and the atmosphere of the story rather than to stimulate the male readers, which a lot of comics do when they over-sexualize female characters. Now, by no way, shape, or form am I saying Voodoo as a comic should be something that's read by teenagers or a younger audience. No. No way, shape, or form. This is a comic that is geared towards more adult readers. I dare say no one under the age of 18 should really read this comic because, again, it's more of a mature comic. Although the maturity of the individual differs based on the individual, not necessarily on age. What I'm trying to get at is this, is that Voodoo deals with its content in a very mature fashion. It pushes things to the extreme and it does controversial things, but it never does it for the sake of being controversial. It does it because that is how the story is planned out. And I feel as though it's the only comic in the New 52 that can kind of get away with that and have an excuse with that. Now, the fact that I'm defending this comic when it comes down to its controversial content, you probably think that I'm in love with it. That may not necessarily be the case. I read issue number 1 of Voodoo, and I was intrigued. It was a comic that was recommended to me by one of my comic book guys. I have several comic book people that work at my comic book store, and there's one in particular, Eric, who I talk to and he gives me suggestions. And in week 4 it was of month 1, I did 3, but 4 of month 1, I said, hey, give me some random recommendation. I want to broaden my horizons. And he said, pick up Man of War, pick up Voodoo, and pick up Firestorm. I said, sure. And lo and behold, I enjoyed each title. Was I in love with every single title I read out of those? No. But Men of War was a solid series and something completely different that I enjoyed. Firestorm was a solid series that I'm probably going to pick up issue number 2 at some point. And Voodoo was a interesting series. Let me take another example here. The reason why Voodoo I thought was appealing, other than the mystery of the story, was that Scott Lobdell commented that with his interpretation of Starfire, he wanted to make a character that was completely alien, that didn't think, that didn't see, didn't smell, didn't hear the way that humans do. I think it was a horrible idea to do it with Starfire because she's the most emotional and most blown and extreme of what a human is. But what Voodoo does is it pulls off that. It creates a character that is completely disattached from the human nature, that is completely alien, for better or for good. And I found that to be actually an interesting quality. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to pick up issue number 2. One is because the character seemed very interesting, and 2, because the mystery seemed pretty nice. So issue number 1 was a solid, good issue. I didn't give it a ranking, but I would have given it 3 out of 5 stars. The question is issue number 2, will it be as good? Will it be better? Or will it push the envelope a little too much? You're just going to have to wait and see. Now, sorry for the 5-minute talk about that, but I kind of wanted to get that out of the way. So let's get into issue number 2 of Voodoo. Now, issue number 2 starts off where we left off with issue number 1. For those of you that have not read issue number 1, there are going to be some spoilers thrown out here. Voodoo had just killed an FBI agent that had been tracking her down, and she assumed the identity of this FBI agent. She actually fully assumes the identity so much that she goes so far as to have a sexual experience with another agent just to keep her cover. However, her cover is eventually broken and she is hunted down like nobody's business. And the government sends in not only the FBI, not only these super troopers, but a new character that kind of reminds me of Major Force, but his name is, I believe, Blackjack. This guy comes off as a total prick, a total asshole, and I absolutely love him. He is pretty badass as kind of an antagonist. He then wants to take her down. However, the agent who she slept with in the disguise as another individual wants to take her down. The question is will this agent be successful? Voodoo may be an alien, but is her power strong enough to take out a human with a firearm? Just gonna have to read and see. Let's get into the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. The art, as in issue number 1, is very nice, very fantastic. I like how Voodoo looks in this, and I like how I almost said Major Force. I like how Blackjack looks. The art overall has a nice, good tone to it. The mystery is continuing, and in that, I like how Voodoo is again portrayed in that she's a completely alien character. She is seeing things through a very alien-esque eye. She doesn't understand human culture. She understands some of the concepts like murder, some killing, but she also sees it in the grand scheme of things that this is war. She sees this as survival. In the very opening scene, she says, I killed someone. By the laws of this world, I'm a murderer, but I did it as a means of survival. So am I a murderer? Isn't the point of war to survive and to fight another day? So the character has a completely alien nature to her. And in that, she does something very controversial, which can be taken the wrong way. In that, she sleeps with another agent under the disguise of someone else, which, by definition, is actually considered rape. This happened to Dick Grayson once, I believe. To impersonate someone and then to have a sexual relationships under a false guise is actually, I believe, legally considered rape. Even if the person is very consensual about it. So, even though Voodoo turned into another agent, and although the person that she had a sexual relationship with gave permission, was consensual about it, legally, I think that's still considered rape. And my friend actually had to point that out to me, and I found that interesting. It's controversial, yes. Is it uncomfortable? Yes. But I think it goes to the extreme to point out how different this character is. And you know what else I find to be interesting about this book? Is that Voodoo in no way, shape, or form is portrayed as a good guy. I don't think she's portrayed as a bad guy either, but she's definitely leaning more towards the bad than the good. Bad about this comic. This comic is definitely not for anyone that's not a quote-unquote mature reader. Everyone's going to say that they're mature. Everyone says that they're going to handle things, but this is, I think, going to be for a comic for an older audience, and rightfully so. It has the marking Teen Plus. I would put it a little bit higher, because this content is heavy content. The stuff that happens in here is not easy things to kind of read through. So you should really be make sure that you have the right mindset and understand going into this that this is a mature content story. So that's the bad because again, by law, Voodoo raped someone. It's pretty damn bad. That is really bad. But for the sake of the story, it just shows how much of an alien she is. I don't condone what she does. Just here you kind of understand why she does it, which is again, it's still wrong. Um, whether or not you should pick this up. Voodoo, I feel as though is going to be a comic that will be consistently under attack. Is it a perfect comic? No. Does it push the envelope a lot? Yes. There's a lot of uncomfortable moments in it, especially if you analyze it a lot, which I'm sure people will. But the comic isn't bad. I'm actually enjoying it. I find it to be a completely different and darker kind of comic than what I've been reading, like Green Lantern New Guardian, or like Superman, or like Teen Titans. Again, I recommend this to mature readers. For the people that have been picking up Voodoo, I continue to give this the same ranking as I would the last one. A 3 out of 5 stars. The mystery is continuing. The character is getting a little bit more development, and I'm interested to see where it goes here. Issue number 2 earned this series the right for me to pick up issue number 3, and we'll go from there. But again, like I said at the beginning of this review and throughout this review, there's some heavy subjects that show up in this, and this is for mature readers. So with that said, I'm going to end this review here. This is Andrew saying, peace out for now.